viewing public. Sorry, got quite engrossed in the action there, and he's got the rush.
Ideally, he just wants this ball kind of just to the right of the hoop as he's approaching it. This is just slightly more awkward now.
Yeah, it is.
He's going to put this beyond the hoop and then try and rush it back after making 3 back.
And overruns a little
Just
bit.
Slightly hard. It's just going to struggle slightly to get blue in position there.
Got to prioritise making this hoop here. And he does. So would you take the yellow first here, Pete?
Some people would. I would probably still hit the blue, because by positioning the blue first, you then know exactly where you want
What you've got to do
your
afterwards.
own 2
Right.
balls.
So the danger of hitting the yellow first would be that you could position the yellow on the eastern boundary where you think it's going to be okay, and it would actually end up being not okay at all.
Yeah. Oh, now that was interesting. He's hit that quite hard, as though he's switching.
Yeah,
switching plans?
Is he maybe going to turn this into a reverse NSL? He's sort of put the blue out and actually rush back up towards hoop 2.
Oh, no, it doesn't look like he's getting a rush on yellow, so it's looking more like a cross between an OSL and an MSL at the moment. Perhaps he's going to go to corner 4 here. This is different. It's going to leave Reg a shorter shot, like a 13-yarder.
Yep.
Which Reg will be will obviously prefer to an MSL. But a decent lead nonetheless. Any ball to 4 back that gives your opponent a 13-yarder that would give you a standard TP if missed, puts a lot of pressure on the opponent.
It does. So most people watching in the clubhouse today, air-conditioned comfort. Probably about 150 people in there, I would say.
Yeah.
And not many souls braving the sunshine outside. A few people on the balcony in front of us.
He's just looking at the spot that gives blue a single ball target from where it lies.
And that blue is what, about 18 yards away, a bit more?
Yeah, something like that. So 17 yards perhaps.
Okay, he's now looking at the... What's he looking at here? Thinking of the ideal rush up to the hoop 2 ball.
He's also got the option of just leaving red on the boundary, of course. Because if he left a rush in that direction, then black might shoot at blue.
I guess he can guarantee that there's no double if he goes where he's just pointed his mallet.
Yep. That is where he's gone.
And that is...
So it kind of makes for an interesting decision for Reg. He could obviously take what's now only something like a 12-yarder at the red from A bulk. Or he could play the balls as they lie and just make life slightly more difficult for Matt getting going, but you tend to expect that Matt would get going if any shot is missed from this position.
Reg takes his customary sip of water and comes out to survey the scene. Doesn't have his cap on this time. He's spent a lot of time adjusting the cap before shots, but strangely doesn't have the cap on. And yet the sun is probably the most penetrating as it's been all day.
He's just checking if he's got a triple target. Oh, perhaps he does.
Yeah.
Could he have blue in the centre of a target here?
Well, if he could, I don't know where Blake is at the moment on the roving camera, but if he was able to get down to where the yellow flag is, then he would be able to tell us.
No, he's decided that it's not, I think. So I imagine that he's going to shoot at red here as the shortest shot.
So Blake can not worry about getting down there because a different shot's going to be played.
So 1 game all, 1 and 1, V1 and 4 back, and really a great deal resting on this lift shot. Reg settles himself in his usual way, as he said, just without his cap for this one.
Yeah, normally puts a lot of effort into adjusting the cap. You wonder whether he's got a selection of caps and he's come out wearing the wrong one. He needs to check it each time, but this... And no sunglasses either. And, you know, the sun's pretty strong, pretty blinding light. Into his routine.
Oh, he shot at yellow. Oh. Fancied an easier break.
Yeah.
Well, I'm somewhat surprised by that stroke because any shot that Reg hit there, I would give him the credit of thinking he was going to be okay anyway.
Yeah, so he might as well take the shorter one at the red.
That would have been my thinking, but perhaps it was only a couple of feet.
And there's a pretty good chance if you hit the red that you'd get a cannon anyway. Really, I mean, it would. Well, anything on the left-hand side would.
Sure. Maybe figured if he hit it on the right-hand side, he might struggle slightly.
Oh no, the ball's not actually in the corner, is it? No, sorry, my mistake.
So this is good for Reg to get used to the pace of the lawn again. It probably have changed slightly. It's been some time since he's taken croquet.
So Reg was pretty keen to get back out after the second game, and it was Matt that was sort of saying, "No, I'd like a decent break, thanks." So you can see the hilling there quite clearly.
Yeah.
And we saw that against Ed yesterday. For most of the games, Ed was the one sort of wanting to get out of the starting blocks, but in the very final game, Reg was the one waiting on the lawn, twirling the mallet.
Right. Okay, so as Reg tries to get his break underway, I'm going to hand over to Eugene Chang now. Oh, he's looking at me with great doubt, but... Yeah. Oh, yeah, here you go.
Hi guys, it's Eugene here.
Hello Eugene, how are you going?
Yeah, good. Just been for a very nice lunch across the road.
Oh, lovely. What did you have?
Had some sort of Vietnamese.
Lovely. Yes.
Vietnamese sort of fried egg.
Yep. That's
fried omelette on rice.
They actually have quite a surprising range of things over there in the Canley shopping centre. You wouldn't believe it, but actually a good option for croquet players for the major events that they have here.
Yeah, I've been very impressed by the food in that little strip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and generally by the food in Melbourne as well. So where are we up to?
Well, we're up to Reg having hit the lift. The took a 13-yard shot at the ball pretty near corner 4, and now he'll be looking to craft a break from this.
Okay.
So this is a shot that would strike fear into my heart. It's a approach shot to hoop 1 from the deep southeast.
Yeah, this is where Reg's good croquet strokes kind of come into play. Because he does a lot of sextuple peels in different conditions. So
that looks like it's rolling away. That looks like it's rolling away. Okay, it's still makeable. It's still makeable.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I don't know if you've talked at all about how the conditions have changed the tactics at all. But in a different venue, Reg would have been doing different tactics.
Yes. There's certainly been no attempt at anything other than triples. He always threw that very nicely indeed. Very smooth. He didn't try and bully that. He just played that with at a nice medium pace.
So do you think Reg's going to try anything other than just a break here? Do you think he's going to try and do a TPO or?
It would be very exciting if he did. I do hope he does. But he knows that Matt can hit a leave, and that Matt would be quite capable of finishing with such a hit. So, yeah. It's always it will be interesting. So we'll get some early clues as to what he's going to do in a second.
Yeah, I guess we haven't really. I don't know if you've talked about TPOs at all during the day.
Well, it hasn't been an often used tactic, has it, at the championships?
No. I think there's lots of kind of things you'd consider when you sort of say, do I want to take on a TPO or not? I mean, the first thing obviously is can you get a break round? And then what would you do next? And in England, we do think about TPOs quite a bit. As players are able to do them, and we play a lot of super advanced, which is obviously this form of the game with an additional lift hoop at hoop 4. I don't know if you've ever played it.
Yes. Well, in the British Open, of course.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, so that does increase the number of people attempting TPO turns because it changes the percentages of the game, obviously.
Right.
So
okay. Yes, no, it's funny. We don't really tend to do it in Australia. There's a couple of tournaments, but they're sort of novelty things, and I think many of us would like to play more because of the increased interaction. But as you can imagine, for most ordinary events, lawns like this and quadway hoops are good enough to get some interaction.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, there are times to impose them and times not to. But yeah, certainly might be one of the reasons why.
Doesn't like that one, Eugene. He felt that rush should have got a better contact, and he's left himself another challenging hoop approach on one side of the elf ring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unusual to see Reg kind of not play perfect breaks, because I think he prides himself on kind of getting everything into really good position, and that's what he's known for in England. Just being the perfect executor.
Yeah.
So, well, that's good. That's good recovery stroke.
That's a very good recovery stroke, and he'll hit this through, and he'll have a rush on the red when he comes out.
So, do you remember where yellow was? Is it still in corner 4?
Yellow is still in corner 4.
Yeah, from hitting it from the leave. Yeah. So
but it's the red. It's the red ball, which is on 4 back.
So tell me, has Essek done anything different besides OSLs so far? Because I've watched a bit of him play, and he's mostly done OSLs. Has he tried to do anything different in the last 2 matches?
OSLs or
ordinary standard leaves?
I mean, he's mainly, and during the tournament, he's mainly be doing the MSL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously, he wanted to do the MSL in that last turn.
Okay.
But it just wasn't possible for him with the way that the balls were placed as he was coming into 3 back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the downside of coming in to this match a little bit. Kind of like I've been watching some of the other play, so
you've been watching the games in the Shield and the Bowl and things like that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So obviously there's quite a few other events going on. This is the main one we're covering here, but there are obviously, with a lot of players who've travelled all this way, there are lots of consolation events which are still pretty good trophies in their own right. And they
that's right. There's the quality of the players in even in the plate and so on. They could have easily been battling it out here on this lawn today, but it's the way that the knockouts go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it looks like I think it's unlikely he'll be doing anything fancy because red's the fullback raw and yellow's in corner 4. So yeah, I think the conditions would be too difficult for him to try TPO. So.
So you back home on your way back home this evening, Eugene, back to the UK, or are you spending some time in Australia?
No, I'm spending a bit of time in Australia. I'm hopefully going to kind of visit the Great Ocean Road tomorrow.
Yep.
With
nice.
a few friends of mine, and then flying to Sydney on Tuesday and spend a few days there.
Lovely.
Come back on the Monday after. Which I'm pretty excited about. Chance to see other bits besides Cairnlea. Yeah.
I think that's a very, very understandable goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so Reg goes off to retrieve his black ball as he now moves.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps the scorer busy by making us click over to 4 for that clip.
Mm-hmm.
Is he coming down for yellow here, Eugene?
He's got 2 ways of playing this, hasn't he? So because yellow's in the corner. So now's a good time to pick it up. What do you reckon?
It's funny actually. I mean, I think yes, but one of the very few mistakes he's made today was over rolling, and this is often although yellow's a long way away from the corner actually. Oh no, he's not doing it anyway. There we go.
I don't think he needs to, because yellow's not exactly in the corner.
No,
I think he can just
he can rush over.
He can just power through and just pick it up on the way back.
He
so
could rush the red over to the
really
yellow.
Necessary. Mm-hmm. That's another option too. Yeah, I think that's probably the way I'd play it.
Would you want to? So, Simon Jenkins is keen to give us a few insights. He has promised several insights into some of Matt's special box of tricks. I don't know whether he's ready to reveal them while the game is still in progress, so we may never know. So, well, I know that Reg is a keen listener to the commentary because he's very keen to hear what advice Eugene and I might have for him. But anyway, I'll pass over to Simon.
Right, hello Simon. How are you?
Hello Eugene. Hello everyone. Welcome to a sunny Melbourne.
Yeah.
Happy to see it at last.
Conditions befitting a final, I'd say.
Absolutely. I've just come back from courtside, sitting with Matthew, getting lots of the inside, but no advice accepted or given.
Mm-hmm.
But Matthew's saying it's playing like glass at the moment, playing very fast.
Yeah.
And lots of wobbles in front of the hoops.
Mm-hmm.
So as you saw from his rover in the last game. So Okay, gotcha. All right. But many of you will have seen how Matthew's been playing, and with his Solomon grip and his Irish grip, and probably wondered, why is he changing so much? Well, you'll probably notice that anywhere between up to a 7-yard shot is pretty much the Irish, and unless it's a hoop shot, and unless it's windy. If it's windy, then the Solomon comes into action.
So can you tell me a bit about how Matthew started playing?
Oh, blimey. You would have to talk to his grandparents about that, because I'm sure both Becky and Casper are watching and listening back home in North Carolina. But as a kid, it's kind of a bit like James Deeth in that he started with a tiny little mallet and kind of gradually worked up, playing with his grandparents and then a lot with his father, John. And over the course of the years, there is no doubt about it that Danny Honeycutt has been a serious influence on his play throughout the years. But bottom line, he's been playing a lot of his youth time croquet in North Carolina. But he's now making a career of it, playing down in Orlando, and teaching and coaching down there.
Brilliant. So I guess that's so the sort of learning as a kid is why he's got a Solomon grip, presumably, and then
probably. I mean, I didn't know him as a kid, so I don't know that. But he's got lots of idiosyncrasies that are interesting to watch. I'm sure you've all seen him, or you've seen him reversing the cap sometimes. Well, it's the cap at the moment. It's his red Nike cap that replaces the Emirates cap that Mike Taylor gave him.
Yeah.
And he was very sad to lose that one, but you try and get this cap off him, you will fail.
Right. Right. Yeah, so I think, I don't know, I mean, I wear a cap as well, and I guess turning it round is when I'm leaning down to play a roll stroke and the visor gets in the way.
No, he turns it round when he's kicking into action.
Okay.
It's a focus point, and he doesn't actually know he's doing it, but he just knows that it's happened.
So this is like a go Essex go type moment.
Totally.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You know, he's in many respects, he's very like Reg, because, you know, when he's on, his view is, there ain't no one else in the world who can hit the ball better than me. And I think Reg thinks that way as well.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
they're both extremely positive thinkers. And if he misses a ball, then it's thought, well, okay, it's just given me a better chance later on. There is no negative aspect associated with anything.
Well, that's really helpful. That's a real positive kind of attitude, isn't it?
Totally. So, and he doesn't think of his opponents as being croquet players. They're essentially bodies. So he's not playing Reg, he's just playing another body, and his tournament is just going through bodies.
Yeah, and that must help hugely. So one of the big things that's come out in the last 5-10 years that we've talked about in croquet is sort of psychology of who you're playing, and I mean, it happens in every sport. You know, people in a winning position against somebody very famous or a legend of the sport, and people just mentally crumble. And obviously, having that kind of mentality really helps, doesn't it?
There is no doubt about it that is not in Matthew's frame of mind here. You know, if he goes one down, it just gives him a chance to score in the next. And it's there is all that. Now, you know, Reg has his flicking of the fingers away from his face when he does a bad shot. Matthew just has forgotten about it immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And is that kind of an American thing?
No,
would you say?
no,
or was it just him?
It's very much a Matthew thing. I mean, put it this way, not that I'm American, but a lot of American croquet players would like to have that attitude, but I think it's something rather special.
Well, you say you're not American. I see you're wearing this very fine USA jersey. This is USA croquet team. So what's your journey into USA then? Simon?
I've been in America now for 20 years, and pretty well all of my competitor croquet has been in America. So, and as you are fully aware, the English croquet team are quite strong. So it'd be tough to be playing for Team England. But anyway, I mean, my loyalties are very much split. Yes, I'm English, but in croquet terms, I'm very American.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering that because a lot of the Americans, I've obviously hung out with some of you guys. I've posted a few social media posts where I hung out with some of the American team for dinners and stuff. And they have a really sort of positive go-getter attitude, and I think that kind of must really help in croquet.
Well, I think it always helps when you have a world champion in something, and for America to potentially at the end of this tournament have 2 of the current world championships is a major positive thing to have.
Yeah.
And Ben is an extremely positive person, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, positivity runs heavily through it. But don't get me wrong, every country has got that. Everybody has this will to win, desire to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. So just going back to the game, sorry, we've switched off a bit. We've obviously digressed, but talking about quite interesting things. Reg is on a break to fall back. We haven't said much about it because from a croquet player's point of view, it's a sort of routine thing that goes on. There has been something a bit different here. Typically, once you've made a hoop, you would send the free ball to your next but 1 hoop. In this situation, because of where he's rushed it, he's just sent it to the next but 2 hoops. But that's because he's got enough control. He doesn't expect to.
Well, it's actually more than that. I think on these lawns, the leaves have become incredibly difficult to create, because maybe you've seen on the screen that the balls are moving around a little bit. There are lots of hills on this lawn, and so you'll have seen Matthew try various attempts at the NSL, and pretty much struggled every time because the balls just aren't going where he wants them to go. I think Reg set diagonal, didn't he? But he didn't do the diagonal the regular way that he normally does it. They're being very, very cautious around the hoops, knowing that they have to make the hoop to keep the break going.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see him do his diagonal spread in a different way, and probably have a couple of balls down at 3 back.
Okay. Yeah, I guess one of these things, one of the aspects of being a better player is what Steve Muller would call break hygiene, and it's about having really good pioneers. And that was a situation just now about a few strokes ago where Reg sent the ball into a position where it was hard to get a good pioneer at 2 back and still get a good rush, so he opted for a good pioneer at 3 back. So some of the exercises we learn when we're trying to get better as sort of A-class players, funnily enough, is actually just the 4-ball break. There's an entire chapter to the 4-ball break written in the new book on expert croquet tactics. So there's sort of this new book that's just come out called Beyond Expert Croquet Tactics, available from the English Croquet Association shop. And in it, there's a series of articles by the current top players where they cover lots of different topics. And in fact, there's a whole section on this about how to get your breaks a lot better. So when I've been in some of our sort of international development squads, I'm there to learn things like how to do better triples, and they've said to me, well, you need to actually get your breaks even tighter than they already are. So we play an exercise where we try and put these balls as close as you can to the hoops. I don't know if you've done this kind of stuff.
Oh, I mean, if you talk to Reg, he will suggest that you should really be running a lot of the 3-ball breaks in your practice. But what he'll do in practice is actually put them on the sidelines rather than actually by the hoops to get them to become more accurate.
Yeah,
so,
interesting.
But that's just running breaks for accuracy and getting good rushes out of everything.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so there's obviously you don't always need to send a ball exactly to a hoop, but just that kind of focusing your mind gets your croquet strokes better, and that really helps in conditions like these where, if you're approaching from 2 yards away, as you saw at the very start of this turn, Reg had a somewhat difficult hoop because what is a normal, easy approach in a different place is much harder, and you can see here, he's not. Depends how good this rush is. If it kind of bobbles in the wrong way, he's got a difficult approach.
Well, I mean, the other aspect is you can probably see the flags occasionally. The flags are kind of flying horizontally now. So the wind has definitely picked up and is definitely a factor. And certainly hitting downwind, the ball is going kind of at least 10% further.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely bobbly here. So, it's kind of, you really have to concentrate, and this is where many of us kind of downstairs in in the sort of players zone have been kind of calling Reg as the favourite because we think these tricky conditions favour him more. But actually, Matthew's coped really well.
Matthew would actually thrive on everyone thinking that, because he's desperate to prove them wrong. He would love everyone to know that they're cheering for Reg and disappoint them at the end. That's the kind of thing that really stirs him on and gets the hair sticking up.
Well, I don't think, I think Reg is I would say Reg is a favourite just because of his past history. That's not to say we're cheering for Reg. I just say, these conditions might suit him better.
Yeah, maybe it is. But they're current on the lawn they're playing on. It is in better condition. It's flatter than Court 2, which is the court, as we look at the camera now, it's kind of behind us or to the right. And that would have created a very interesting final with the balls bobbling all over the place and hills rolling off. So this is definitely the easier lawn, but it is tough.
Yeah. So tell me, what's been going on in the USA house in the evening, and what do you do to sort of keep your team interested and bonded, throughout this very long tournament?
Well, I'm definitely the old one there, but I've been introduced to some modern television programs. I think, what's it called, Black Widow or Black something?
Oh, Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. I think we've watched every episode of Black Mirror, and then there's something 66. I don't know. Yeah. It's a new series, but more interesting than that is that the music is an interesting insight for me, because Matthew is a very musical person, and therefore all he's got to do is, on the way in, is to have a particular piece of music, and you may well see him singing along as he's jogging around the lawn, because he's very happy to sing a happy song, and it gets him into the rhythm. Which so lots of music, lots of TV, lots of curry. I think you joined us for curry one night, didn't you?
Yes, great curry one night. Yes.
So but nothing out of the usual. Even last night with the World Championship final on the books, it was just another normal day in paradise. So
So tell me a little bit more about the US team. Who's the best cook? Who's the dirtiest person?
Well, it's interesting. Cook. I mean, there's no doubt about it that Ben spends more time in the kitchen than anyone else.
Okay.
Only because he likes his breakfast. He was once asked a question. It's by someone who a relatively new American player who's become very good. The question was, if you've got one secret that will make you a better player, what is it? And his reply was eggs.
Eggs. Okay. Interesting. Right, we're just having a quick moment where Simon's microphone is being repaired for him by a glorified Mr. Fix-It, who's also leading the production team.
Yeah. So in other words, if you want to play well, then you must have eggs for breakfast.
Okay.
So it's important. Ben has eggs for breakfast every day, but that was his answer. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But
and does it matter the kind of eggs? Raw eggs, cooked eggs, overly easy eggs?
Oh, very important.
Poached eggs? Eggs. Okay.
If you eat eggs, you become a Ben.
Okay. And so let's say Golf Croquet World Championship final day. Yeah. How is Ben wanting his eggs cooked? Obviously, he's definitely having eggs. Is he having 3 fried eggs, 2 scrambled eggs?
I can't remember. I think he just fries them. I don't know. I haven't really looked up. I do apologise.
Yeah, well, I've got you in here to reveal some secrets about the US team, and you've said nothing at all.
No, that's so unfair.
Yeah. Right. So Reg's made 3 back. So
we'll go to 3 back here.
Yeah. Been a bit slow on the scores. So we're now looking at Reg setting a leave, and this is all kind of predictable Reg, we're expecting a diagonal spread where he leaves the balls almost in a straight line across the diagonal of the court, so that Matt's balls can't see each other or anything else easy.
He's actually done very well to get a standard approach to his diagonal spread this time, but he's had all the balls in the right places. It's worked, but they're being very cautious about 3 back. Yeah, because of all the wobbles and bobbles that are happening around it.
So going back to this, who's the person who leaves a mess in the house?
Oh, I simply cannot own up to that one, but there is no doubt about there is one of them.
Okay, and who? Okay, let's picture the other. Who's the person who tidies up everyone? Who's the sort of housekeeper?
Oh, Ben. You know,
Ben. Okay.
Oh, no doubt about it. Ben is very together in all that in that aspect.
So Mr. Modern Husband.
Absolutely, yeah, Mr. Modern Husband, and he's looking after child at home, so he's totally involved in all of that stuff. So yes.
Yeah, I was having a chat to one of the other American team members this morning, and I gather that Ben has taught his daughter sign language. His daughter's 3 years old, and she's learned sign language. So one of the cool things is that she can actually communicate, even though she doesn't know the words for it. And actually, I think it's really cool. She can do that.
There we go. Yes, I mean we haven't. We actually, interesting enough, we had someone come to the door who was deaf and/or dumb. I don't know, but after money for deaf and/or dumb, and Stephen Morgan went to greet them at the door and had no idea what was going on. So it's, Ben, what's happening? And it turns out that Australian Sign Language is slightly different to American Sign Language. So Ben didn't know what was.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, there have been we've unfortunately had sort of scammers in the UK who kind of pretend to be deaf and dumb, and then kind of get stuff for you. And I had a situation like this where I actually Googled the image that they were presenting me, and I said to you, actually, look, I can see this note here that says there are people in the city centre of Sheffield pretending to be deaf and dumb to try and get your money. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And then she said, no, it's not me. And then I walked towards a policeman, and she disappeared. So anyway, right, Reg is taking a moment to line up his
They've all been getting both Matthew and Reg have been getting relatively short balls on the, I would like to say, on the west boundary, but none of them have been on the west boundary. They've been in line with hoop 1 and hoop 2 generally. So I think they're a little bit worried about that ball catching the wind and rolling down, because it is dead downwind on that ball. Yeah. But they haven't been playing the defensive and getting it way out there.
Interesting. So Reg isn't placing this tight against the peg. I think he's probably worried about things
he's
rolling.
Worried about it wobbling around.
Yeah, so that really changes the way he's playing this leave. So, has he got the wiring? I don't think it's. I think it's rolled slightly to the side.
Difficult to say. The camera needs to pan out just to the.
Yeah, is there any chance we can pan out slightly to kind of look at the angles?
Left a little bit. There we go. It looks pretty good. But
thanks for that, Mr. Vision Mixer. Okay, so the question is, have red and yellow are they wired properly?
They look as though they are.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, this is quite a flat spread, I think.
I've noticed in the past when Reg is playing in finals, he goes for a very flat spread. You know, literally a kind of
so there's
short and max distance.
So there's a reason for that. There's a kind of psychology of what you do when you're shooting against people who you perceive are very good. So typically in this diagonal spread, we would you can obviously, you've got a bit of variation. You can kind of place it along a sort of really nice diagonal, or sort of slightly flatter diagonal, or a longer diagonal. And a lot of this is about the psychology about who's playing and who you are playing. And a lot of this is about kind of saying, if you're playing someone very strong, take the shortest shot. And typically we refer to the short shot as the one being played from the sort of south, the sort of bottom left as you look at the camera. And the long shot is the one where you play it from the top right of the screen.
And the long shot has been really quite difficult. You will probably see Matthew take the short shot here, only because that shot from the north boundary wobbles and bends, and there's a kind of couple of hills there. He did practice it before the game, so he knows that line. And
and I think that's the point here, because if you flatten this diagonal, you make the long shot shorter and the short shot longer, to the extent that you end up making the short shot longer. Although looking at that angle, that actually doesn't look too far off the perfect diagonal.
Yeah, he wants to play the yellow ball, which is the back ball. He probably can't see anything of red. of yellow.
No.
Oh, having a quick look to see if we can hit those two. It's legal to take the top of the peg out for those that don't know about it. It's Matthew has dispatched it and putting it back now.
Yeah. So yeah.